So, Mr. Smith, you're new in post, and but you're not new to Edinburgh.
No. Born and bred in Edinburgh. Spent a bit of time in Aberdeen, but spent the last 20 years working and living in the city. My whole career so far has been in sport. I originally trained as a PE teacher, taught up in Aberdeen for a few years, then came back to Edinburgh, worked at Sports Scotland, the national sports agency, for 10 years, and then went to work for Cricket Scotland for 10 years as their chief executive. And then I left that role late last year and started in Essential Edinburgh in early March, so I'm nearly 4 months in now.
And Essential Edinburgh, for people who don't know, try and explain it to us. What does it actually do?
Essential Edinburgh covers the main city centre, so George Street, Princes Street, Rose Street, St Andrew's Square, St James Centre, and we're really the governing body and the organisation that supports the businesses. And what we try and do is do everything we can to make the place look clean and attractive, to drive footfall, run events, and support the businesses in any way we can to make the city centre prosper.
But who pays for that?
It's paid for by the businesses. We have over 600, as we call them, levy payers, who all pay us 1% of their rateable value, and that gives us a pot of money that we can then deliver things. So there's no council money, it's all private money put in by the businesses themselves.
And of course we're sitting in one of the businesses this morning.
Well, we are, yeah. Harvey Nichols, big supporter of ours. We do a lot of work with them. Obviously there's a lot of activity in the square which supports Harvey Nichols, so no, it's great to be here.
And your activity in the square is not without its controversy. There are some who say that you're doing too much in the square. What do you have to say?
Well, I think we've got to find the right balance. The square is obviously very heavily used at Christmas in the summer. The rest of the year we try and have fairly low impact events, but it's really important, I think, to use the square. The square was redesigned and is now a public open space. It's there for the public of Edinburgh and the visitors, so it's really got to be used, but we are conscious that we have to strike that happy medium between overusing it and having it as an open space for people to enjoy.
And who pays for the upkeep of the square?
We do. It's funded by events we run in the square and by rental income from the coffee shop. So again, we use the money that we raise in the square to keep it clean and tidy. But we see events in the square as a hugely important part. Yesterday we ran an event and had 3,000 or 4,000 people in, and that's just not city centre workers, it's the tourists, it's the visitors, and it's such a great amenity for the city that it's got to be used.
And so now that you've got your feet under your new desk, you must have some plans for the future. Can you tell us about any of those?
Well, we're now entering the third year of our 5-year bid term, so we're starting to review what we're doing just now and what we're doing looking forward. There's obviously a few big ticket events coming up for the city centre, such as St James and its redevelopment, the redevelopments on George Street. So there's a lot of issues, and we're sort of going through a consultation phase now as we head towards our new plan, talking to our members, and then we'll look to see what we're going to do going forward. But certainly the immediate big issue for us is really looking at George Street. The experimental order ends at the end of the festival, so we'll play a big role in getting the street back to how it was, and then hopefully a big role in the consultation phase with all our levy payers and the wider interest groups to see what we're going to do with it going forward.
That whole reorganisation of George Street over this last year doesn't really seem to have worked, would you agree?
I think the trial has worked very well because it is a trial. So what's happened in the last year is we've been able to see things that do work and things that don't work, and that was the whole reason to set up a 1-year trial. I think the interesting thing now is there's lots of diverse opinions, and I think it's going to be very, very hard, if not impossible, to find a solution that's going to suit everyone. But certainly from our point of view, we're keen for the street. It's a historic street in Edinburgh. It needs to be a thoroughfare, there needs to be parking, but equally so, people have liked the pedestrianised aspect of it, and they've liked the on-street dining. Maybe not the tents in a lot of instances, but they've liked the ability to eat on the street when the Edinburgh climate allows us to do so. So certainly we've got a fairly open mind about it, and we'll listen to all the stakeholders before we make our opinion, but I think what is clear is I don't think there's a majority of people who want it to go back to how it was.